What is, guys, as promised, run through of the 100 Club Challenge? What is it? Where did it come from? Why is it? Let's get to it. So, I rocked up, probably at your school, maybe your police station, and we had a chat. We raised some Vantage, we enhanced perspicacity on a certain vice. And then I said to you guys, the best way to bust out of this rut, to break the chains of apathy and addiction, is to overhaul identity. This is how, lads. Let's get to it. First off, let's talk about the effectivity of an identity overhaul. The only way that is more effective for you to break out of apathy and addiction is an environmental change. What happened to the Marines that went to Vietnam? A whole load of them tried heroin. And so the American government thought, damn it, these guys are going to come home. It's going to be an epidemic. Right? And yet these guys came home, and 8 out of 10 Marines that had been hooked on heroin never tried it again. Now, normally heroin has a 90% relapse rate, which means 90% of the guys that give up heroin pick it up again. And yet, these 8 out of 10 guys never did. Why? Well, their environment had changed. They'd been at war, and now they were at home with their families. Easy game. I remember I went on a tour through Africa with my mates from Res. I was in Vulcanhof at Stellenbosch. So we went on an overland tour, 62 days through Africa. Box of cigarettes every single one of those days. Loved a cigarette. And so I decided to give up. And I flew back early. I flew back from Malawi. I needed to get to a mate's birthday. And as I got to the airport, I decided we're done with this. And I had my last cigarette standing outside that airport. I left that cigarette in Malawi and I kicked the habit for good. So we can't all just leave, get out the country. We have exams and responsibilities. And so the next best thing to do is to overhaul our identity, to become a different person and to change the perspective from which we deal with the problem. Now we're overhauling our identity, becoming a new person to get rid of this addiction. And at the same time, we get rid of this addiction to become a new person. It's a perpetuating cycle. And so the guys rock up here with this vice, whether it's porn, whether it's alcoholism, whether it's gambling or vaping, and they become these new guys and level up in more than one aspect of their lives. Fantastic. So let's start with action. As a guy, talking gets us almost nowhere. It's good to have someone to talk to. It's good to be able to share your heart and to gain new perspective. And that's what we do in the BustaRut coaching and counseling, right? We get to share, we get to learn, we get to enhance our perspicacity. And yet the difference is made when we actually take action, right? And so that's what we're going to do in this program. We're going to start taking action, and we're going to do it with intense consistency. We pack the wagon. We change a whole lot. We don't make small incremental changes. This isn't Kaizen theory. We are hitting this at a run. We're packing the wagon. And when small things fall off the wagon, we're going to pick it up and go again. Also, not going to do this once. If you went to the gym once, even if it was for 6 hours, you would notice no difference other than the fact you probably wouldn't be able to walk several days. You wouldn't suddenly be a little bit thicker in the arm. Right? What you do though is you gym for an hour every day for 6 months, and that makes the difference. So, 2 aspects to this: intense consistency. All right, guys. Next up, how do we overhaul identity? Well, we start off by analyzing our decision making, analyzing the actions that we take on a daily basis, whether those be a virtue or vice, right? And so we look at our vices, whether it's cigarettes, for example. Cigarettes is a great one. We vape, we smoke cigarettes. Horrible for us. Why? Nicotine's good for you. Nicotine is neuroprotective. Enhances your productivity by up to 25%. Makes you a better studier. Gets you better results in the gym. You get dialed in. Nicotine is good for you. However, the transport method with which you get it into your system is the problem. If you're burning plant matter and pulling it onto your lungs, if you're sucking on some Chinese secret syrup, and the evidence coming out on vaping is damning. We cannot be smoking cigarettes or vaping, guys. Net negative. And so we cut it off. If someone tells me there's a positive aspect to porn, I will throw punches. I had some woman tell me that she thinks porn is okay because pedophiles can use it to treat their issues and their desires for little kiddies. She's obviously never heard of lead poisoning. Anyway, we move on. We cut vice, right. If we find it's a net negative, we cull it. We want nothing to do with anything that holds us back from being at our full capacity in this one race that we have to run. Nothing that slows us down can stay. We need to be ruthless. And so we upgrade our hardware. And as a man, it is your responsibility to be as effective as you can be, to be as dangerous as you can be. Fitness is freedom. And being able to protect your family is a non-negotiable. To be able to carry your wife out of a burning building is not something that you should be able to do as an added benefit to being strong. It is your responsibility. Now, while you're training every single day, putting yourself under voluntary discomfort, waking up at 5 a.m. to get to CrossFit, which sucks, by the way, over time, you're going to get the real result that we're looking for, which is a toughening of your mental space. This whole program is changing your mental space because life is a head game. And yet, physical training is a fantastic way to build on that same agenda, on that same mission, towards that same purpose. Guys, and then we hit down and dial up and upgrade our software. How do we do that? There's two aspects to this. One is that we take in new information. I take in new information by spending time with certain people, right? We become who we spend time with. And yet, I can't spend time with Goggins. I cannot ever read his book. I can take in his worldview, I can process it, I can filter it, and I can take what works and apply it to my own worldview. We all need men that are ahead of us, that are mentors, that are coaches. I have a coach, keeps me accountable, shows me the way I need to go about things to get things done. Find the guys in book or podcast. And we have a pretty specific list of books that we're going to read for the 100 Club Challenge. But the general principle is we need to upgrade our software by taking in new and valuable information. And then we use some mindset tools to set our minds consistently, to build momentum towards our destination, towards our goals, in our thoughts, in our focus. We do that every single day. Right, and we'll get into how we do that in a little bit. And then last but not least, we upgrade our fuel, guys. What you take in determines your output. Inputs equal outputs, right? And not just in food, and food is massive, right? If you're going to eat fried foods, like loads of seed oils and refined sugars, you're never going to perform at a high level, right? But what about your music? What about the friends that you hang out with? These are all inputs. These are all fuel. They're all inputs, right? And so we need to seriously analyze what we're taking in that aspect as well. That being said, let's get to it. What is the 100 Club Challenge? What are the steps? What are the non-negotiables? How do we go about this? First off, early wake up. Non-negotiable. You oversleep, you fail. You restart. Now, you don't have to wake up at 5 a.m. You need to wake up earlier than you would like to, and with enough time to put in your morning routine. What does that morning routine look like? I'll give you an example of mine, at least during the 100 Club Challenge. I wake up at 5. My alarm clock, my phone, is in another room where it's close enough that I can hear, but far enough for me to have to get up and get out of bed. I leave some water next to my phone with some salt and some freshly squeezed lemon juice in it that hydrates me. Right, so I turn off my alarm, I bang that water back, and then I get to it. I do my first push-ups. And I do some dynamic stretching to get my body awake, right? And then I spend time building my mind. Now, for me, that includes reading a chapter of Proverbs, some New Testament, and then to pray. Once I've prayed, I start to look at the rest of my mindset building tools. Okay, those mindset building tools include visualization, and we're going to have a whole video on this in itself because this is a super important tool. This is the most important tool in your self-development. It's finding a target, finding your why, finding a destination, and giving yourself direction, right? Because when I'm getting up at 5 a.m., I need to remind myself why I'm doing this. Why am I cutting the vice? It's not for the sake of cutting vice. It's because we need to become the best version of ourselves to get where we want to go. Where do we want to go? Well, if we don't know, we've got no reason to get up in the morning. So we find that why. We build out that vision, and then we spend time in the morning dialing in, dialing in. Why am I exercising? Why am I going to school? Why am I making this cash? Who do I want to be? We practice affirmation, speaking life over yourself, declaring what is good and true about who you are and who you would be. Right? And then we practice gratitude. We are stoked about what we already have in life. It sets our mind in a certain direction. Right? And so when I get out of bed and I have momentum going, right, by the time some woman is keen and throws herself at me, or I have an urge to watch porn, I deal with that situation through the lens of someone who every single day has declared over himself in his affirmation that I am someone who has a spirit of love, of power, and of self-control. I have self-control. I bring my mind and my body under discipline. And so when I'm reacting to what life has thrown at me, I deal with it through the lens of someone who has declared that over himself loudly and believes it to the depth of his soul. And then I get going. I make my breakfast. I get exercise in. Normally was CrossFit before work, and I'd get to the office and get going. The next part of your daily software, guys, is taking in that new information, spending time with people that can influence you in a positive manner. And so we have a prescribed list. In other words, if you want to do 100 Club, you need to read these books specifically. Just 10 pages a day. It will take you the 100 days to read all 3 of these books. And we start off with As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. It is free, it is online, it is 42 pages, and he articulates very effectively that you are and your reality becomes what you believe about yourself and your world. Super important, guys. The power of mind. He's literally quoting Proverbs. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Next up, by day 5, we're reading Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. He will kick the crap out of your excuses. Fantastic, boy. He will let you know why you can do your 100 push-ups every day and a 10-miler on top of that. It's very seldom that we're pushing ourselves too hard. No one else out here is Goggins, right? And so we can grab a little bit of his worldview, grab a little bit of that toughness, and make it our own. And then last, we read Atomic Habits by James Clear. And what he does is he helps us to stack routines, stack actions to remove discipline and the motivation or the requirements for those, right? So that even when we're not feeling like it, it still happens. To help us to set up a morning routine in such a way that we turn off the alarm, we drink the water, we make our bed, we get moving, and the next step goes, and the next step goes, and the next step goes, and then we're done, dialed in, and ready for the day without needing to be motivated, without needing to be disciplined. A massive, massive skill and an important one to have. And then, guys, we do physical activity every single day. I'd prefer it if it was weightlifting for a whole bunch of reasons. Releases testosterone, makes you strong, makes you dangerous. You need that extra muscle. You look good. You carry yourself well. People respect you because it's not something that you can buy. A good physique is not something that you can just spend money on, right? And so physical activity is a non-negotiable, excluding your 100. You do your 100 push-ups and then you do physical activity. And if you're tired of your weights, if your body's broken, go walk 10K steps. Right, and if you don't want to walk 10K steps, go take the dog for a walk. Get a suntan with your shirt off. Make that your daily activity, but do something that you know, this is my physical activity for the day. Right? Get out there, but preferably do some proper, hard activity that brings your mind under discipline, that brings about voluntary discomfort, and gives yourself an opportunity to grow in more than one dimension. Guys, we go no far. Busting under your right, one of these that is non-negotiable is that we don't watch porn. We don't masturbate. We don't jerk off. We retain the energy. We redirect it. Okay. Yes, you can have sex. If you're in a relationship with a wholesome, beautiful girl, power to you, my dude. Right. I don't recommend that you go and find strangers in a club while you're busy trying to build yourself. There's no point. It gains you nothing other than a bit of a release. Okay. There is cost to that as well. But if you want to, then so be it. I don't recommend it. Okay. Wet dreams are allowed. Fantastic. It's your body saying, your tank is full. Let's equalize. Right? Great stuff. Best dream ever. Can't wait for my next. It's been a while. Okay. Nothing wrong with a wet dream. What you can't do is whack one off yourself. That's a no-no. Whether there's porn or no porn, if you whack one out, you fail. You fap. You fail, you start again. And then last but not least, guys, we give up another vice. At least one. I did 3. Mine were chasing tails or chasing women in general. I was not any sex. Right? And I still haven't gone after women since I finished 100 Club. I don't need to. I'm building. I'm dialed in. I'm focused. Right? But I had just come out of a relationship and I knew that Birchie has a tendency to be a bit of a flirt. I knew that I was going to take too much of my time out of my day chasing women. And I didn't need to be doing that. And so I made that one of my vices I was giving up. I recommend. Right? My other ones were alcohol. I don't have a drinking problem, but I knew that I was going to have to deny myself at least a couple of times. I was going to have a moment when my friends would say, let's drink, and I would have to say, no, I'm dialed in, I'm focused, I'm building. Right? Cigarettes and weed, not an issue for me. Also, non-negotiable, didn't happen for me. Right? Now, sugar is still a massive issue, and that'll probably be something that I give up in my next 100 Club. Social media scrolling was one that I gave up this last time. It's a big issue for me because I've used my social media to make cash and to find out information, right? Tough one to try and balance. And what I did for that is I put a timer on my social media that after the first hour it tells me you've overstayed, right? Now, the last aspect to this challenge is holding yourself accountable to a community and to the public at large, right? By making this public declaration, you've got people watching you, you've got a reason to not fail. And so we do that. We have a group. We've got a Telegram group. I've coded a bot, and so the guys report in. I've done my 100, and I'm clean. I haven't cut myself to porn or whatever my vices are that I'm giving up. Right? Find your group. Report to your group. And then you will find in the highlights called 100 Club on the BustaRut.Today page, you will find the last slide on that story is the 100 Club template. You can screen grab that and post that to your story. Tag BustaRut, add your rules. You can see how I've done it there. Every row that you put in, maybe you report it every 8 days. Don't make it an everyday thing. Make it an every 8-day thing or an every 10-day thing. Right? You fill in those blocks as you go along. If you're afraid of failing in public, you hold people's opinions as too high. I failed twice in public, and I let everybody know when I fail. And then we go again. The men that watch you will respect you for it. And when you lap them, they'll know why. And you will have changed yourself. You will have held yourself to a standard to perform in front of the others. And then you will start to raise them to that standard as well. So, public accountability, super important. Post it to your story. Tag me in it. Make a public statement of it. Don't be afraid of the people watching. Put on a show. And when we fail, we go again, my dude. The people watching are spectators. They're not even in the arena. But until you level up, you're not in the arena either. Or at least you've got no chance in the fight you're trying to take on. Guys, I hope this helped. I hope this gave you some pointers, gave you some understanding of what the 100 Club Challenge actually is and how to go about it. Drop me a message if you have any questions and check out the link below for the program. Read the program. It'll give you the what and it'll give you the why to what we're doing with the 100 Club Challenge. Lads, let's get it.